Okay, this is lesson 41. This is a continuation of yesterday's lesson. So it's just going to be a little bit harder. The same idea when you add and subtract fractions, you have to have the same denominator, so you have to factor the denominators out to get a common denominator so you can multiply it back in. A lot of the stuff we're learning is very technical. You have to know like the skills of adding and subtracting fractions and multiplying polynomials. So this is just really intense in that sense, so it's a bit harder. But if you could do this, then you can do more advanced problems when you go up to the next class and calculus. Okay, so here's the steps for today, same thing as yesterday. So I'm just going to go for it. There's number one. Okay. Number one, 2 over 5x plus 6 over 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. So the first thing I want to do always is I check for excluded values. So 5x here, this first denominator right here, has an excluded value, so I want to make sure that I check that out. I'm going to do this on the side down here, and I know that x can't equal to 0. Okay, that's my first excluded value. Next denominator is 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. I'm going to take this whole denominator and do a side problem. Do it down here. This one's a little bit harder. You have to do a little bit of an x box or to factor it. So we got x plus 5 is equal to 0 and 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. Therefore x is equal to, I should say, negative 5. And it's a negative sign down here. The next one should be x is equal to 1/2. Okay? So that's just a side problem. Okay? Now, before I move on, now I'm going to ask myself, the factor here is 5x, right? Are there any factors of 5x on this side? Yes or no? No, there aren't. So I'm going to take this whole denominator here, and I'm going to bring it down as a factored form so I know what there is. So it's the second denominator, or first denominator I'm just going to bring down as it was. We got 2 over 5x, and then the second denominator is x plus 5 times 2x minus 1. And we got a numerator of 6. So now we know what all the factors are that are available. So there's a 5x here. There's no 5x here, so I'm going to have to multiply this whole right side by 5x. Okay. This left side here, there is no x plus 5 and 2x minus 1, which is really this whole trinomial here, right? Wouldn't you agree that this whole these two binomials multiply together to become this trinomial up here? So instead of me just putting these individually here and having to multiply it out, I'm just going to multiply 5x times the trinomial that I had above, which is 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. So, because I know that I'm not going to have to multiply that in, it's already been multiplied for me. So now I know that this side has 2x squared plus 9x minus 5, and that's represented by these two binomials, so does the right side. And this left side has a 5x, that side has a 5x, and I'm multiplying it out. Now I'm going to start multiplying this out. 2x squared times 2 is positive, what am I writing here? 2x squared times 2 is, what am I, oh, I see what I'm doing here. Something's wrong here. Oh, this is my denominator. 2x squared times 5x is 10x cubed. Okay? 9x times 5x is positive 45x. This is my new denominator. Negative 5 times 5x is negative 25x. Okay? Is this making sense right now? Okay? So that's my new denominator. My numerator now, we got 2x squared times 2 is positive 4x squared. 9x times 2 is positive 18x. And then we got negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Okay? Bring the plus sign down. We got 6 times 5x is 30x. And I'm bringing down the same denominator from before. And then I am going to combine like terms. 4x squared. Are there any 4x squareds here on the numerators? Nope. So I'm going to have 4x squared. And then we got 18x plus 30x. 18 plus 30 is going to be 48x. And then we got negative 10, nothing else to combine with that. And then we have a common denominator of 10x squared plus 45x squared minus 25x. Semicolon. My excluded values from the smallest to the greatest is negative 5 first. Then we have 1/2, or 0 and then 1/2, and that's it. That's how we do number 1. Okay? So these problems take a little bit longer, right? There's a lot of like little details you have to work out. So as we go, that's how we do number 1. Any questions on number 1? Okay, number 2 now. I'm going to start a new slide for number 2 because it does take a little while. So number 2, I already started writing here. We have an excluded value in the first denominator. We have 6p squared minus 12p plus 6, all equal to 0. So check this out. What's the common factor of all 3 of these terms here? 6. Since there's a 0 on this right side, check out how quickly you can simplify. You can divide everything by 6 on both sides. 6p squared divided by 6 is going to be p squared. Negative 12p divided by 6 is negative 2p. 6 divided by 6 is 1. And 0 divided by 6 is 0. You see how much simpler that looks now? Okay. Now we just do a simple x box problem. You can even do this in your head. You could find out p minus 1 squared is equal to 0. Therefore, p can equal to 1. Okay? That's your excluded value. So that's just a side problem. Now, on this left-hand side now, we have this denominator here, and I'm going to factor it out. We kind of already factored it out over here because we're like, oh, it's we can factor out a 6. So I'm going to factor out a 6 down here because I can't just divide everything by 6 here because this is actually, it's not an equation. We're not solving for p. So we're going to factor out a 6 here. So 6 times p squared minus 2p plus 1. Okay, numerator is 2p. Then we got the second fraction. We got minus sign. We got 2p all over 6. So now we have 2 denominators. We're going to ask ourselves, what does each side have? This side has a 6. This side has a 6, so we don't have to worry about it. That's good. This right side has p squared minus 2p plus 1. This right side doesn't, so we're going to rewrite this as 6p squared minus 2p plus 1. We're going to multiply that into each of those, right here and here. And now we have a common denominator here and here. This common denominator was the factor form of this denominator, so I don't have to work anything out. I'm just going to rewrite that. So you got 6p squared minus 12p plus 6, okay? This first denominator, we got 2p, or numerator, we got 2p. We don't have to multiply anything with it because it already has a common denominator, so we're going to bring down 2p. Then over here we got negative 2p times p squared is going to be negative 2p cubed. Then we have negative 2p times negative 2p is going to be positive 4p squared. And then we got negative 2p times positive 1 is going to be negative 2p. All over our common denominator. Combine like terms, you got 2p is going to cancel out with this negative 2p, so all we're left with is negative 2p cubed plus 4p squared all over 6p squared minus 12p plus 6, and p can equal to 1. Okay, questions on number 2? Okay, the goal of this is always to stay organized. A lot of the stuff we do in math is you have to go real slow, stay organized, take your time, and you can learn those skills. So, all right, so let's go back. Today's Thursday. We're going to go back to number 1. I'm going to have twos talk today first. Twos are talking about number 1 to the neighbors about number 1. Okay, so why don't we talk about that first? Twos are talking right now. Ones are listening. Ready, set, go. Okay, continuing. So let's do we're just going to do one more because we've been working on this already. We're going to just jump straight to number 4. Oh, and there's your answer. Perfect. Sick. Okay. Okay. Okay, so number 4, okay? So number 4, do we have any excluded values here in the first denominator? No.
No.
No. Okay, good. So what about our second denominator?
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's put that to the side. 5n squared plus 15n plus 10 all equals to 0. What is a common denominator that we could use? Okay. How does this trinomial get divided by 5? What should I write down? N squared plus what?
3n plus 2
Good.
equals 0.
Excellent. Okay, what is the factored form of this?
N plus 2.
N plus 2. Ah.
The answer is 20n squared.
Thank you.
Figured it out.
No, you didn't. Okay. Okay, so these are my excluded values. Okay, now looking on this left-hand side, let's just think about this before we factor this out. There's a 3 here. Will there ever be a 3 on this right-hand side? No. We're really thinking about all the possible factors. So we got a 5 as a possible factor, right? And we have these 2 as a possible factor. So these are really the 3 possible factors because this is the only factor of here is a 3, and the only factor of here is a n plus 2 and n plus 1 and a 5. Does that make sense? So do I need to factor this whole thing out in order for me to bring it over here? No. Okay? So here we go. This side has a 3. Does the opposite side have a 3?
Yeah, we know.
No. In the denominator. Does this side have a 3 here?
Yeah.
In this denominator.
No.
So what should we do? Multiply by 3. Okay, make a little room here. This side has a 5n squared plus 15n plus 10. Does this side have a 5n squared plus 15n plus 10? No, it doesn't. So we need to multiply it out. There's our 3. Okay, so I'm going to leave you there. I want you to finish up my problem for me. Most of you got it? The answer is 20n squared. That concludes the lesson.